Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. The kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power. The power to create machines, the power to create happiness. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Vicious body shots by Getty. Warren nods as if to say, come on, come on. Come on, let's fight.
Welcome to You Gotta Feel This. Ever heard of a boxing match that shook the sports to its core? Today we're diving into one of the most controversial moments in boxing. Every so often, the world of sports is rocked by a controversy that transcends the boundaries of competition. Today, we will unravel one such event. In the early 80s, the boxing world was ablaze with anticipation for a showdown that promised fireworks. Billy Collins Jr. versus Luis Resto, two promising fighters, each with their own dreams, collided in a match that would change their lives forever. To understand the gravity of what followed, let's step back into the world of the 80s boxing, a time of grit, glory, and unrelenting determination, an era where every fight had career-defining moments. This bout was no exception. Luis Resto, born June 11, 1955, was a welterweight boxer of Puerto Rican descent from the Bronx, New York, with a professional record of 19 wins, 8 losses, 2 draws, 1 no contest. Considered a high-level journeyman, he was ranked 10th in the world. He was practically unknown outside of the New York area. Billy Collins Jr., formerly known as William Ray Collins Jr., born September 21st, 1961, from Nashville, Tennessee, of Irish descent, with a professional record of 14-0, with 11 knockouts and 3 decisions. He was highly favored to be the next big thing with his charming looks and great boxing attributes. He was getting the push he needed to become a star until tragedy struck. On June 16, 1983, on the undercard of Roberto Duran versus Davey Moore. Like I said, Billy was on his way to the top, and Luis Resto supposed to be another contender on the chopping block. But Resto had other plans that night. What started off as your typical fight for Collins slowly but surely started to turn in the favor of Resto. Could he have just been the better man that night? People thought. Turned out to be something far more cynical at play. But behind the spectacle lay a chilling revelation that would shock the boxing world. Luis Resto, not known for being much of a puncher, by the end of the fight, Collins' face was bruised and battered, and Resto looked as if he was never in a fight and received a decision as Resto went to hug Collins and shake Collins Sr.'s hand. Collins Sr. grabbed his gloves and could feel the padding was missing in his gloves and quickly notified the commissioner, which was just speculation at the time. Turned out, after an investigation, to be true, that 1 ounce of padding was removed from both gloves, but there was more nefarious and evil things beyond just padding being removed. He also had his hand wraps soaked in plaster, which were hardened like a cast-like material, causing extensive damage to Collins' face and eyes, leading him to have torn iris, which would end his boxing career indefinitely. Because of the results of the investigation, on July 1st, 1983, Luis Resto and Panama Laws, trainer of Luis Resto, boxing license were permanently revoked, and in October 1986, both were found guilty of assault, criminal possession of a weapon, Resto's hands, and conspiracy. Lewis was also found guilty of tampering with a sports contest. It was a dark chapter that forever altered the perception of fairness and integrity in the sport. As for Collins Jr., his life would never be the same. He was no longer able to do what he loved and was raised to do. Feeling helpless sent him in deep depression, which later resulted in alcoholism and sadly, on March 6, 1984, where he unalived himself in what people believe was an intentional car crash. As we reflect on this harrowing tale, we're reminded that behind the glamour of sports lies a deeper story, one of ethics, justice, and human spirit. A 30-minute fight turned out to have severe consequences, where one man lost his livelihood and his life, all over the greed for money of others willing to get it by any means necessary, even if that meant unaliving him in the ring that night. This is why it's important to uphold sportsmanship and fairness in boxing or in any sport where you have the potential of unaliving someone. But in sports in general, if you're not athletic or whatever the case may be, you just have to work harder, and in some cases smart. Like when Ali beat Foreman. He wasn't strong as him, but he outthought him. Now, I'm not saying this can happen in every sport, but there will always be someone who can beat you. And if more athletes realize that, we wouldn't have these type of problems. You would think after controversy like this would never happen again, but you would be sadly mistaken. There's other notable moments, such as Margarita versus Cotto. I say that to say this. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. If you want a video about Margarita versus Cotto, leave a comment. But as always, subscribe. Until next time, you gotta feel this. I'm out.